This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
Tonight, an Irvington couple is being forced to change the date of their wedding reception after a thief stole all of their invitations that were just delivered. Thanks for joining us here at 11 o'clock. I'm Nicole Griffin. The entire theft was caught on a doorbell camera that you see right here. And tonight, that couple hopes that you'll be able to help identify the man in the video.
You see a guy walk up onto the porch nonchalantly. He just kind of reaches down and picks up all the boxes and puts them under his arms.
Jonathan Hastings saw it all happen. The entire theft caught on his Ring doorbell camera.
Walks back down, picks up a bike and balances on the bike, and then just rides up the street. Looked like it wasn't his first rodeo.
It happened Thursday afternoon around 4:30 on Ivanhoe Street, just off Arlington Avenue. A short time after the man stole the packages, another neighbor took this video.
He got on his bike and I guess got halfway down the block and dropped the packages. And so when he went to pick them up, a neighbor stopped him and was like, "Hey, are those your boxes? What are you doing with them?" And he said they were his, and then picked them up real fast and rode off.
Hastings thinks the man saw the boxes and thought there would be something valuable inside he could pawn or sell.
He got a dog food bowl and the template for our new countertops for the kitchen, and like a 6-pack of energy drinks. So, I mean, he might have enjoyed those.
But unfortunately, the man did get something valuable to Hastings. Inside the boxes were his wedding reception invitations he'd been waiting on.
Well, I'm frustrated that the one person being selfish and just trying to take things that's not theirs for a quick gain could, affect so many people, because it's not just us. It affects family and friends, and it affects the businesses we're using, for the reception. It affects their planning.
The theft is now causing Hastings and his soon-to-be wife to push back their September reception because the invitations are now being remade. He now hopes someone will recognize this man in the video and contact police.
I've had a lot of communication with neighbors who are like, "Hey, we just saw him up by Starbucks," or, "I saw the guy on the trail." The main thing I wanted to do was alert neighbors so they could, not have the same thing happen to them.
Some good news we have learned. Hastings says the company he's working with is remaking the invitations at no cost to him. He also says they are now having packages delivered to another location. If you recognize the man in that surveillance video, contact Crime Stoppers at 317-262-TIPS. Now new at 11, 7 people who police say were involved in a pursuit are in custody. It all started around 5:30 tonight when a person recognized the suspects in connection to a robbery reported on Saturday. That person then contacted police, and that's when officers tried to stop the vehicle on the south side.
As officers attempted to stop the vehicle, those officers were led on a vehicle pursuit, which ultimately ended in the area of Bluff and Wicker, where the alleged suspects had crashed the vehicle into a pole. Several individuals from the vehicle ran from the vehicle.
Officers were able to track down and arrest all of the suspects, but they did say one person got away. Police tell us they were able to recover at least one gun from the scene. And we are wrapping up a violent weekend here in the Circle City. At least 7 people are injured and one fatally since early Saturday morning. The first incident happened in the area of North Rural Street and Massachusetts Avenue around 1:15 a.m. Saturday. Police say 2 people were shot at this scene and their conditions are unknown. Officers were then called around 3:15 a.m. to Morningstar Drive near 25th Street and Post Road for another shooting. At last check, the victim in this case is in stable condition. And then early Sunday morning around 1:45, officers were sent to 42nd and Post, where a man was shot in a parking lot. Tonight, we don't know his condition, but just 45 minutes later, 2 people were stabbed on Georgetown Road near Lafayette Road, and both were taken to the hospital. And finally, while officers were investigating that incident, calls came in about a person shot inside a car near Fountain Square. Police say the shooting happened in the area of English Avenue and Laurel Street. Officers were able to make contact with the driver at the intersection of Calvary Street and found the passenger inside the car was shot. That man was pronounced dead at the scene, and police say they believe the shooting happened at another location. Tonight, Carmel police have one person in custody after two people were shot around 7 o'clock this morning. It happened in the area of East 106th Street and Pennsylvania Street. Police say a 36-year-old man who was shot in the chest was taken to the hospital, treated and released. A second victim, a 39-year-old woman, was also later found shot in the leg. With help from IMPD, police arrested a 45-year-old man from Indianapolis. He is now facing several felony charges, including attempted murder and burglary with a deadly weapon. This traffic reminder as we head into the new week. All lanes of I-70, both eastbound and westbound, are now closed between the south split to I-465 on the west side. INDOT posted pictures of crews getting to work Friday night as soon as the closure went into effect. To get around the closure, give yourself extra time and follow the detour routes. If you're coming from the airport or the west side, get off at I-70 at I-465. Take that around to the south side to I-65. Head north on 65 to the south split downtown. If you are leaving the downtown area at the south split, continue southbound on 65. Take I-465 west and then connect with I-70 on the west side. With all of this construction and added traffic, city and state police will be keeping a close eye on things.
They're going to be patrolling these zones, so be careful, be aware that cars around you may be slowing down, they may be changing because there's a traffic pattern change, anything like that. Just be aware of your surroundings, which means that you shouldn't be on your phone, you shouldn't be driving with any distractions.
During the closure, crews are fixing areas from winter damage. Interstate 70 is scheduled to reopen August 5th. As one full closure road project gets underway, two others are wrapping up. INDOT says I-65 southbound from I-865 to I-465 will open by 6 a.m. tomorrow. And so will 65 southbound from the north split to the south split. One of two major intersections in Franklin Township has just reopened as a roundabout. The intersection of Franklin Road and Edgewood Avenue opened yesterday. The other, Arlington and Edgewood, will open on August 2nd. Both intersections closed in early June for that roundabout construction. But there is more work to be done. Phase 2 begins this Wednesday, July 31st, when the DPW closes the intersection of Franklin and Thompson Roads, and the intersection of Arlington and Shelbyville Road will close on August 19th. Time now to get a check of your forecast with Storm Team 6 meteorologist Kyle Mounds.
We just missed out on that 90-degree mark this afternoon. 88 the top number in Indianapolis. We've dropped back to 77 now. Still a mild 73 in Bloomington, 75 for you in Kokomo, and that wind is still between about 5 and 10 miles per hour. It was a little breezy this afternoon. All is nice and quiet across central Indiana tonight. You can see our next rainmaker, though, taking shape back into parts of Iowa, stretching into Wisconsin. Not going to need to worry about that first thing in the morning. We'll have dry conditions for your drive to work, temperatures in the lower 70s. But as we go through the afternoon and evening, we are going to have that rain. So we'll take a closer look at the timeline, the temperature drop to follow, and the opening day of the state fair. That's Friday. Look at that forecast coming up.
Kyle, thank you. Former Indiana Senator and Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats is leaving his job next month. The announcement came late this afternoon from President Trump on Twitter. This brings an end to a sometimes tense 2 years for Coats and the president. Coats frequently appeared out of step with Mr. Trump and once told prosecutors how he was urged by the president to publicly deny any link between Russia and the Trump campaign. President Trump plans to nominate Texas Congressman John Ratcliffe to replace Coats. Finding an assisted living facility for seniors is already a hard task, but finding a housing for adults with disabilities can seem impossible. That's the trouble Indiana parents say they face when looking for a good home for their children with special needs. RTV6's Cameron Riddle shows us the solutions parents are using to get around this often difficult issue.
In Indianapolis, parents of disabled adults are taking a stand against a lack of assisted housing for people who sometimes need a little extra help.
The parents of these adults are coming together to be proactive about assisting their children in independence, and they all have the goal to help them learn and grow independently with the goal to live on their own in their own houses.
The people you see here are adults who have intellectual or developmental disabilities, such as Down syndrome or autism. and the people who love them are fighting for their future. That's why they've been enrolled in the 3rd annual Sunshine Social Club, a program designed to help disabled adults learn to live on their own, teaching social skills and life lessons such as ordering food, cooking, interacting with others, and even lessons on when to call the police.
From theft and awareness to being on your own, to setting a plan in place, let somebody know where you're at, really just to be able to prepare them.
Lisa Batts knows those lessons well. It's the same thing she taught her now adult son when he was younger.
He has Down syndrome, and when he got out of school, when he was 21, he just suffered a super depression and lack of socialization. His friends that he knew were kind of doing their life, and his life was just complacent.
Batts says that's why she founded the Sunshine Social Club and eventually hopes to build a residential community specifically for people like her son, who with just a little extra love, attention, and guidance can not only survive on their own, but thrive.
I think we gave him confidence to be who he was, and we had the ability to teach him things.
Working for you in Indianapolis, Cameron Riddle, RTV6.
Cameron, thank you. There's big money waiting for at least 2 people, but they better hurry if they want to cash in. The Hoosier Lottery says 2 $50,000 Powerball tickets are set to expire early next month. They were both purchased in February this year. One ticket was sold in northern Indiana in LaPorte, and it expires on August 1st. But the other ticket was purchased right here in Indianapolis on February 9th at the Pike Food Center on Pendleton Pike. It expires on August 8th at 5 p.m. The winning numbers 1, 2, 3, 7, 39, and the Powerball number is 25. The $50,000 prize goes to those who match 4 of the 5 numbers along with the Powerball number. If you have the winning ticket, contact Hoosier Lottery customer service at 1-800-955-6886 for claim instructions. Italian citizens are paying their respects to a police officer killed by 2 American teens. Tonight, what those suspects are now telling police about what happened.
Select 2019 Cherokee models and dealer stock.
This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
The worst possible conclusion to a nationwide search for a missing boy. Montana authorities say 2-year-old Aiden Salcido was found dead today in a remote area. It's near where his parents were found dead earlier this week in an apparent murder-suicide. Witness tips led police there. An autopsy will determine the cause of death. Aiden had been missing since early June when his parents fled from Oregon after his mother failed to appear in court to be sentenced for burglary. Two teenagers from San Francisco are held in an Italian jail accused of stabbing to death a police officer. The case of a drug deal gone sour has gripped Italy. ABC's Trevor Alt has more.
Crowds lining up at a chapel in Rome paying their respects to police officer Mario Cercello Rega, Italy's prime minister, among the mourners. Just days after their honeymoon, the officer's widow following the hearse of her husband, who died in the line of duty, allegedly stabbed to death by 2 American teenagers. Police say it started when 19-year-old Finnegan Lee Elder and 18-year-old Gabriel Christian Natale Hjorth, both tourists from San Francisco, approached a man and allegedly asked where they could buy drugs. The man led them to a dealer who police say sold them fake cocaine. The 2, growing angry, allegedly went back to the scene and stole the backpack of the man who pointed them to the drug dealer. Surveillance showing the 2 men running away after the theft. Police say the man called his own phone that was stolen in the bag and spoke to the 2 Americans. He says they offered him in exchange his bag for a gram of cocaine and 100 euros. He went to the police instead, and they set up an undercover operation, which ended with the police officer stabbed 8 times. Police say the 2 fled back to their hotel not far away and were preparing to leave the country when officers moved in, finding overwhelming evidence in their room, including the alleged murder weapon. At a hearing this weekend, both Americans waived their right to speak.
Provato.
Finnegan Elder's public defender says his client was not well. The funeral for the slain police officer will be held in the same church where he was married a little more than a month ago. Trevor Alt, ABC News, Washington.
Trevor, thank you. Working for you with a warning about a new scam starting to go around Indiana. The Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Office says people are receiving a text message from a number that has a 317 area code. Investigators say the text informs you about upcoming jury duty. In the message, you'll see a link to mycase.in.gov so you can check the case number that was sent with the text. The message also states that if you do not appear, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. Police and sheriff's departments don't do this, so they are suggesting you ignore, block, or delete the number these texts are coming from.
Wrapping up a beautiful and warm weekend here across central Indiana, and we had dry weather throughout. That changes a little bit tomorrow. We're still warm tonight, though. 77 in downtown, almost 80 degrees for you in Muncie, and 73 right now in the Bloomington area. Tomorrow morning, we'll find those temperatures upper 60s to around 70 degrees. But again, as you head out the door in the morning, I think you're going to be in good shape. But take along that umbrella because things change as we go through the day. Here's a look at your Monday forecast hour by hour, and you can see through the lunch hour most areas are going to be dry here. Our temperature at noon 83 degrees, and we'll make it into the middle 80s tomorrow. The increasing clouds and those rain chances going to keep those temperatures a little bit cooler than where they were today. So let's look at that timeline for your rain chances here. 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we start to see a few downpours stretching from around Sullivan and Terre Haute back through Crawfordsville and Lafayette. This will slide to the east, and by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when we'll see some of that rain moving into the downtown area, also into Bloomington, and then it kind of falls apart, becomes a little more scattered as it moves to the east. By 6:30 in the evening, just some hit and miss downpours for us. Not anticipating severe weather, still could have some gusty winds though in a few of these thunderstorms, and as we get to 10 o'clock tomorrow night, you can see just a couple of those showers left over. Most of the rain will have moved out at that point, and we're still talking about areas picking up less than a half an inch in most locations. Still kind of honing in on the western third of Indiana where we could see those totals a little bit higher in a couple of the downpours. But temperatures tomorrow, not close to 90. In fact, you'll be upper 70s to around 80 degrees in Lafayette. That's because the clouds, the showers move in a little sooner for you, a little later in Columbus, and that's why your temperature will be close to that 90 degree mark. On Tuesday, isolated shower chance that we'll hold on to into the morning. Otherwise, we'll start to clear out those skies a little bit. Temperatures into the mid 80s for that afternoon high, and it's really the middle of the week here on Wednesday when we'll notice that humidity dropping. Our high 82 degrees. 7-day planning forecast. Notice once we get past that chance for rain on Monday and into Tuesday morning, it is a dry stretch once again. So if you don't get any rain tomorrow, you're probably going to need to water the plants and the lawn a little longer, because as we get into next weekend, we heat it back up a little bit, back close to 90 degrees.
At least, we got some nicer weather throughout the rest of the week.
Yeah, and right now for Friday, opening day of the State Fair, looks like it's going to be dry and warm.
All right, Kyle, thank you. Well, still to come, IndyCar driver Scott Dixon wins at the Mid-Ohio race, but his victory was a lot closer than his previous 5 at the same track. He talks to Dave first when we come back.
Monday at Ashley Home Store. This is home.
In a dramatic finish, Scott Dixon held off rookie teammate Felix Rosenqvist to win the Honda Indy 200 for the 6th time. Dixon is now back in contention to defend his IndyCar season championship. He talked with our Day First soon after his victory.
Saving the best for last, at least when it came to the racing here at Mid-Ohio, and somehow Scott Dixon was able to hang on using those alternate reds, every inch of them that they had, and you were just skating there at the end, weren't you?
I think we
hold off your teammate.
I think we got to the courts, man, with about 10 to go. Like, it was honestly like on ice skates, with about 15 to go, I started, talking to the team. I'm like, we're in trouble. Like, we're going to need to maybe pit, which is my fault. I made the call for the reds. I kind of asked them to see what they thought about the other cars that were running, but honestly, we made too many adjustments to help the front as well, and it just burnt the rears off. But what a finish, man. Oh my God, like, looking at my mirrors, I'm trying to look down straight, trying to get the car straight, the car sideways, nearly spun out of one. And honestly, if Felix wasn't my teammate, I think he would have had me off anyway. So big thank you to him, and huge weekend for a 1-2 for us.
That begs the question, if it's anyone else, are they giving you that kind of room, maybe being a gentleman with you towards the end of that race, or no?
He's a smart racer, right? He's going to race as hard as I think he knows he can get to the finish. finish. And the going into 2 there was pretty tight. If he had maybe got off the brakes, he could have got me spun around there. But, he's a big talent, man. I've really enjoyed working with him. This weekend, he was honestly super fast. I think he was the class of the field today, had he not got the strategy correct.
Big picture, I know that maybe you weren't thinking about championship during the race, but here you are, 62 points back now with 4 races remaining. You're still in this thing, man.
Yeah, what a shift.
It can be done.
I know, and that's what you got to look at. It happens so many times. You can get a little bit complacent. I've been in that situation where I've had, almost a 100-point lead, and you just see it evaporate. Right. So, yeah, it's good to put that pressure on those guys. Obviously, there's a lot of races to go, and, we know the competition is going to be super strong, so we just got to make the most of it and have more days like today.
No one's shocked that he won another one here at Mid-Ohio. 6th time, by the way, but man, what a finish here at Mid-Ohio.
All right, Dave, thank you. And rounding out the top 5 from today's race, Felix Rosenquist 2nd, Ryan Hunter-Ray 3rd, Will Power 4th, and Alexander Rossi at 5th. A question: should police have access to your phone records if it will aid in an investigation? One man's response landed him in jail. Coming up, the debate from both sides. There's a debate about whether police can force you to give them your cell phone passcode so they can search your phone. Investigative reporter Jace Larson is here with the story. One man who said no and ended up in jail.
It started with him not using his turn signal. Police pulled him over, his attorney says, and then smelled pot.
He said, yes, I smoke marijuana. There's marijuana in the vehicle.
But a text message that police saw pop up on his phone is what really started this whole privacy issue. It said, OMG, did they find it? Well, police got a judge to sign a search warrant. Then Montanez refused to give them the code to his phone. So officers hauled him into court.
Is that a yes or a no?
It's a no, Your Honor.
Take him into custody.
Montanez ended up in jail for 40-plus days. Well, eventually an appeals court ordered him released, and then the DA's office dropped the issue.
There's no probable cause to suggest that just because you have a misdemeanor amount of marijuana on your possession, that there's evidence of a crime in a cell phone.
Williams' lawyer says if police made him tell them the passcode, that would be giving up evidence on himself, essentially admitting that the phone was his.
And then if there's information on that cell phone that would incriminate me, then I've just been ordered by the court to violate my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, not to offer information that would incriminate me.
And this is a case that civil rights lawyers elsewhere say is worrisome.
This is the death of privacy in the digital age. This is forced self-incrimination.
Not all prosecutors are willing to go as far as jail. This local prosecutor in Arapahoe County, Colorado, says there are enough private companies around who can access phone data through their own proprietary technology that demanding a passcode really isn't necessary.
That's just not how we've done business in the past. And as long as we have another vehicle to get that information, which is by going to the court and getting a search warrant and then turning it over to the experts in technology, I don't need to go down that road.
The Florida Appeals Court didn't block prosecutors from ever asking for a passcode again. They just said the way it was done in this case was flawed. And what that means is this issue could come up again unless the Supreme Court eventually weighs in. I'm Jace Larson reporting.
Jace, thank you. Did you know taking your eyes off the road for just 2 seconds doubles your chance of getting into an accident? That's according to AAA, and it's easy to get distracted with all the technology we have in our vehicles these days. AAA says people between the ages of 55 and 75 are likely to get even more distracted. The study found people in that age group took their eyes off the road about 8 seconds longer than people between the ages of 21 and 36. Not hard to believe, Kyle.
Yeah, and chances are you could use a little bit of rain. We've got that chance tomorrow afternoon and evening. As we go through the next several days, though, that's about it. It's going to be dry and warming back up into the upper 80s by next weekend.
Kyle, thank you, and thank you for joining us. Have a great night.